I will continue to ride for the Nikon ZF as my favorite camera to go everywhere with me. It's fun to use, and if you know, you know. And if you don't know, I have lots of videos on the channel about it. But we live in a hybrid creator world these days, especially on social media, and quality video is just as coveted, even if it's just as a means of promoting your photography. So while the Nikon ZR isn't my first choice for photos, I still find myself using it in more than a few situations. So let's talk about it. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris Hagen, a video producer and photographer in Portland, Oregon, and there really aren't any bad cameras for photo or video output these days. There are hybrid, what we call cinema cameras that have great photo image quality, and there are plenty of cameras designed for photography that have 10-bit video codecs that can stand up to lots of the best cinema cameras on the market. Me personally, I'm someone that likes to get the most out of any camera I own. So I capture a bit of home video on my ZF, and as I've had the Nikon ZR on loan from Nikon USA, I've been using it not just for most of my video needs lately, but also photos along the way. If you didn't see my in-depth first impressions video about the ZR, I talk about it a lot there, but really, I've been enamored with this camera, especially the big screen that makes shooting with it so much more enjoyable. I can't say that enough. For a lot of outings, some hiking, some street photography with friends, family things, I've opted for going with the ZR instead of my usual, the ZF, because it's been fun to add more high-quality video to the mix. But how is it holding up for photos? We'll break it down into image quality, the shooting experience, and some of the drawbacks there, and probably most important, how to get the best quality when you're switching back and forth between photo and video mode. And I've got something cool to show you when it comes to that. However, let's start with the easiest thing to tackle, image quality. I don't know what you expect when you hear cinema camera, but really, many of them capture photos with the same quality that you'd get from their more hybrid photo focus counterparts. The ZR uses a partially stacked 24 megapixel sensor, similar to what you'd get with the Z6 III. What you don't get is a mechanical shutter. However, with a quick sensor readout, I believe less than 10 milliseconds, you're not going to see much, if any, rolling shutter effect. Maybe if you're shooting golf or baseball, you'll get some bending bats and club shafts during the swing, but I've had no issues freezing motion and getting clean, sharp photos. In a nutshell, it's a full-frame camera with Nikon's color science, and if you like it on your other Nikon cameras, then you'll like it here as well. You can also use Nikon's imaging recipe, so if you want straight-out of camera photos with a more customized look, there you go. Speaking of which, yeah, there are videos about that on the channel as well, if you want to check that out. The biggest difference here compared to the ZF is you don't get the film grain feature in the ZR that is unique to the ZF and a nod to its retro design. But back to the ZR, I can't say this enough. I've mentioned it in every video about this camera so far. The screen. Y'all, I definitely catch myself bringing it up to my eye looking for a viewfinder that's not there, but it's really never a bother because composing, shooting, and reviewing photos with this screen is phenomenal. So for better or worse, there's not much more to say about this ZR when it comes to photo image quality, at least for how I use it. But let's get more into that because finding a good balance between photo and video takes a little bit of planning and maybe an extra piece of gear. What I've been doing with the ZR and several different lenses is bouncing between video and photo, sometimes filming the overall scene before capturing a few stills of the details. I think this comes in handy with travel content and being able to cut down on the amount of gear you carry. Like for cherry blossom season here in Portland, I was out on the waterfront with two cameras using the ZR for video with Nikon's 40mm f2 and rocking the 50mm f1.8s on the ZF. I will admit, I can be a maximalist when it comes to this stuff sometimes. I used to work in local television where I was on camera and also operating my camera at the same time, so carrying some extra stuff just isn't a huge deal for me. But at the same time, it just ain't that serious. And given the choice, I'd probably always prefer one camera on me, especially when traveling. The thing is, photo and video don't always play well together at the same time on the same camera without a lot of mental gymnastics. For sharp photos, you want a higher shutter speed to freeze motion. And for video, you want a natural motion blur, which means slowing the shutter speed down. Specifically, if you're filming at 24 frames per second, for example, you want a shutter speed of 1/48th of a second or as close as you can be to being twice your frame rate. But that's way too slow for photos. To add to the mess, the ideal ISO setting is also very different between the two formats. If you're filming in a log profile with a base ISO of 800, like it is with the ZR and most cameras that have a log codec, well, that's higher than what you'd want for the cleanest photos. I'm no ISO snob. I shoot auto ISO most of the time, but I also prefer not to have it unnecessarily high, which comes in handy with the next issue. When you're filming outdoors in any kind of daylight, if you don't want your image totally overexposed, you're going to need a variable ND filter to cut out some of that light. Otherwise, even closing the lens down to f8 or f11 or f16 isn't going to do enough. And obviously, if you want to open the lens up to f2.8 or even brighter for a shallow depth of field, again, you're going to need an ND filter. Unfortunately, it's not always super fun to have to pop an ND filter on and off the camera every time you go from photo to video mode. I used to use a 3-to-6 or 3-to-7 stop variable ND filter, but Freewell actually has a better option now. It's the new Brandon Lee and Freewell collaboration, and this is a 1-to-10 stop solution with a circular polarizer that they sent me to test out. To be clear, I was given the product with no obligation to include it in this video, but I was already planning on doing this video. It just so happened that this was a better fit than my other variable ND filters for how I'm using the Nikon ZR right now. I'll try to keep it brief before I move on to more about the ZR shooting experience, but basically this 1-to-10 stop variable ND means the filter can stay on my camera at all times. For photos, I rotate the filter to cut out just one stop of light, which you can almost always afford to give up and still shoot at or near the base ISO of 100 for photos, especially outdoors. But then when I switch over to video and need to increase the filter strength, I can rotate it to 5 stops where I'm able to film at higher ISOs without being overexposed. For really bright days and the additional 5 stops that make up to 10 stops of ND possible, there's an ND32, another way of saying 5 stops, that magnetically fits on top of the 1-to-5 variable ND. Then you can rotate it between 6 and 10 stops. The magnetic locking feature is designed to be as simple to use as possible while also giving you the confidence that the filter is safely secured to the front of your camera. You have the magnetic base with these red markings, the same red markings that are found on the filters. When they line up, you can simply remove the filter. Once twisted to where the markings do not align, the filter itself is locked into the base, but still able to be twisted to adjust ND strength. And you can adjust the attachment as a whole to adjust polarization. For the extra 5-stop ND and other filters that you may stack on, like the glow mist filter, for example, you put those on and twist until it locks on. And then to remove it, just make sure that the red line aligns with this little unlock symbol. It's actually a lot easier than it sounds and makes sense once you start using it. So if you are in the market for a new variable ND that I use to shoot a lot of the photos and video in this video, check this one out. Okay, so going a little deeper with the shooting experience, there are a few things that I miss compared to other cameras, and it mainly has to do with button layout or lack thereof, and some of the limits on how you can customize the buttons you have. First, there's no dedicated exposure compensation dial, and you cannot map either of the front or rear dials to exposure compensation. So say I was shooting in aperture priority mode, where you set the minimum shutter speed and let the camera do the decision making beyond that. At that point, the dial that changes the shutter is useless. So I'd love to be able to map exposure compensation to it instead, but that's not an option. My workaround is mapping exposure compensation to a button instead. I use the record button on the front. And when I press it, then I can use the dials on the right side of the camera to adjust the exposure compensation. But that requires 2 hands, whereas on the ZF and any camera with the exposure compensation dial in its usual place, it's a quick adjustment with just 1 hand. Now, this next thing I mentioned in my longer first impressions video with the ZR, but the shutter button is also a little different. It's really strong and it takes a firm press. If you're someone like me and you like to half press the shutter to keep your focus locked on your subject as you recompose, it's not as easy as it is with other cameras. I often find myself pressing too hard and staying in a full press, or too light and not even half pressing it and keeping my focus locked. And it's kind of hard to stay in the middle. When it comes to changing my focus area, I prefer to have that readily available too. On the ZF, I have it mapped to the function button on the front to cycle through my preferred focus areas. On the Z8, I mapped it to a press of the joystick. So as I'm shooting with either of those cameras, I can change that in locations where my fingers already are. On the ZR, there is no function button on the front to map that to, and the joystick on the back doesn't allow that function. It's limited to resetting the focus point and zooming. So this time, my workaround is mapping it to one of the buttons along the top. With this small rig cage on the camera, it's not really reachable, though in saying that, I guess this issue's kind of self-inflicted, though I will also say that you probably need an added grip on this camera for longer photo sessions. So maybe check out a cage that gives you more access to the buttons than this one while also having a grip, and I think such cages do exist now. So in summary, while all those things individually aren't really a big deal, as a collective, when shooting, I find that I just can't get into a rhythm like I do with other cameras more geared toward photography. I'm just finding myself frequently needing to fiddle with buttons to change my exposure and focus point. With the additional buttons and dials on other cameras, like the ZF, I can stay in my viewfinder and make all the adjustments and shoot. I see the scene, I see the composition, I twist a single dial as needed and go. There's just far less thinking and adjusting. Also, this is a fine time to point out that literally none of these issues come up for me when shooting video with the ZR. It's clearly built inside and out to be a video first camera, but with the photo mode, I think there just might be a few things overlooked there. Still, as far as image quality and overall functionality of being able to get the shot, there's not much it can't do. My nitpicks are personal preferences, and clearly they haven't stopped me from capturing some great photos. And considering this is an all-in-one camera for high quality raw cinema footage and the ability to capture raw photos that edit just as well as any of my other cameras, and again, the price, I find it a bit tone deaf to complain too much about the photography experience. I'm just not going to retire my ZF as my photo body anytime soon. If you're a filmmaker dad, partner, traveler, etc., and you're looking for a high-end video camera with the occasional need for photos, you won't be disappointed. If I had to put it into numbers, I'd say if your ratio is 65 to 35% video to photo, go with the ZR. But if you're just going to be filming every now and then, the Z5 II, the ZF, the Z6 III, those are probably going to give you the best of both worlds. In any case, I'd love to know what y'all think. I know lots of people do use the ZR for photos. I've tried to steer clear of those videos before making my own, just so my opinion isn't tainted. But if I'm missing anything, please let me know. As always, thanks for showing up for this one, and I'll see you again soon.